Hey, I'm Jessi with Belle by Jessi, and today we are making our shark hooded towel. So before we start cutting anything, we need to make sure we have all of our supplies. We need our pattern and our sewing instructions. We need some paper, scissors, and some tape to get that pattern ready to cut out. Then we're gonna need our fabric scissors, thread, pins, obviously our sewing machine, and then our materials. So we need a full-size towel for the body. If you're making this for a kid, a regular bath towel works fine. If you want to make this for an adult, sometimes a bath sheet that's larger is a nice option. And then we need a hand towel to cut the hood out of. For our shark, we need 2 pieces of felt for the teeth and eyes. We're going to have 1 piece of white felt and 1 piece of black felt. So we make sure we have all of that stuff ready. And then the first thing we're going to do is get our pattern, trim all those pieces out, and then we need some tape to tape the 2 pieces of the hood together. It prints out on 2 separate pieces because it's too large. So there are directions there, and I'm going to show you how to put that hood together so it's ready to cut out of your towel. Okay, before we cut these little tiny pieces out of our felt, I want to show you a little trick I like to use for small pieces. Very quickly, background on me, I come from a production background. So I was a production pattern maker, and I tend to sew the way a production worker would sew, which means quick and easy. So I don't pin a lot of stuff, and this is a trick you can use at home with no production background whatsoever. So when you have really small pieces like this that are, let's be honest, kind of difficult to pin down, get a paper towel, just get a regular old pencil, trace around the little pieces. Well, you can see here I've already done my shark's tooth there. Cut it out with your paper scissors, and then the paper towel is actually very durable, so it's going to last a while, but it has a little bit of texture to it which kind of sticks to your fabric, so it doesn't slide around as much as your paper piece does. So before I cut my teeth and my eyes, I'm going to transfer them onto the paper towel and make a paper pattern piece out of the paper towel, and then I'll cut them on the felt. I have my hand towel ready to cut my hood. I actually don't want this little design right here in my finished hood, so instead of folding my hand towel all the way in half, I'm going to fold this edge to the design and see if I've got enough space to do that. That'll fit on there. So I'm going to fold mine this way so that I don't have that in my finished hood. Now this little edge right here, the finished edge of your hand towel, we want to keep that. It's marked on your pattern piece. Fold your hand towel in half, place this edge along the finished edge of your hand towel. Do not cut this edge. And then your fold is marked right here. That's where I just folded it. Now, if you're making this for an adult, you might want to shift it out about a ½ inch just to make their hood a little bit bigger. But this size will work for pretty much anybody. So I'm going to line mine up right on the edge, right with that fold. Now, you can pin the way you would traditionally. Another little quick and easy technique I like to use is to get something heavy to put on there as a weight. So I've got my tape dispenser still sitting here. I'm going to put my tape dispenser down, and I'm going to trim around. I'm going to cut my notch, And then I'm going to do the same thing with my fin. Now my fin also has a fold mark here, so I'm going to use this part of the towel with the fold here and line my fin up there. If you feel like that's too tight, this does not have to be facing up. It can flip over and then you've got plenty of space to cut around it. So I'm going to cut out both of these pieces and then we'll work on our felt. I have my white felt for the teeth and the white part of the eye and my black part for the pupil. I've cut my little pieces out of a paper towel now so they can kind of stick. I don't have to pin them. I actually cut myself 2 pattern pieces of the tooth just because I have to cut so many. I thought that would be easier. I am going to fold my felt in half, and I'm going to use this nice finished edge, this nice straight edge that I already have here. So I'm going to fold my felt in half. I'm going to line up the straight edge of my tooth on the straight edge of that felt. You can see how it kind of stays in place. And I'm going to cut these all out and then we'll be ready to sew. I am at my machine and ready to get sewing, but real quick I wanted to point out a couple of things that are different about my machine that you might notice while we're sewing. I have an industrial machine which actually does not have a reverse for my back stitching. So you will see me stitch a few stitches and then start over and stitch again, and that is how I back stitch on this machine. Other thing is I do have a little hand lever to lift the presser foot, same as you. Let's see if we can see it, but I also have this cool little knee part that does the same thing. So right now I am threaded up in white thread and ready to get started on these teeth. Let's sew. We have 6 pairs of teeth. We are going to sew the 2 pieces together to give them a little extra body. I'm going to sew about 1/8 of an inch from the edge, back stitching at both sides to give these a little bit more stiffness. If there's anything you don't like about how your teeth turn out, this is just felt, which does not ravel at all. You can simply trim a little bit off. Alright, sew all of those together and then we're going to sew them together in one line. Okay, your teeth are going to be easier to attach to your towel when they're all together. So we're going to line them up like this. That is why they have the little flat edge there, so that we can bump them right up together, and we're just going to stitch across all of them so they're one piece. Just bump them right up together and keep sewing. So there we go, now our teeth are all attached. We'll put these to the side for the moment. So next is our fin. It's one piece. We're going to fold it. Terry doesn't usually have a right or wrong, but there's a side that you like better, and choose that to be your inside. We're going to fold it back together, and we're going to stitch around this curved edge, back stitching at both sides. We're going to trim this top edge. So just cut a little notch there, cut some of that extra off right where the corner is, and then turn it right side out. We have our adorable shark fin. So you'll notice that the teary is starting to ravel pretty bad. All right, we're gonna open up our hood. Again, if there's a side you like better, then go ahead and choose that to be the right side. And we're gonna open up our hood, find our notch, and we're gonna put our fin right on that notch. So here's mine, I'm gonna center it up, and I'm gonna stitch it right across. All right, now close our hood back. I want to make sure we've got the front end lined up. So we'll pin this part together. You can add more pins. We're going to sew our hood closed, back stitch at both ends. All right, so we've got our adorable fin inside our hood, but we've got this big old ravelly mess in there. We're going to cover this with bias tape. So my favorite kind to get is this extra wide double fold. So let's get that open. I bought some that matched my towel. All right, I'm going to cut off a little hunk that's big enough for what I'm doing right now. And the reason I'm going to cut it off first is because you will notice, let's see if we can get this to show, that one side is slightly longer than the other side. That's so that when you're sewing, you can make sure that the underneath part is longer, sticking out further than the part that you are sewing. So what we're going to do is open this up. We're going to wrap it around that raw edge. Okay, so we're going to make like a little sandwich there. I want that longer part to be on the bottom. Okay, so we're going to take this all the way down here. Now if you want to pin each little bit, you go right ahead and pin it. I'm going to just feel it with my fingers and go ahead and sew it. There's no need to back stitch at this front end. We're going to cover it here shortly. I'm going to go a little bit. I'm going to check, make sure I am getting that back side. And slowly work my way around. So I'm catching on the back side as well. Now when I get close to this end, I want to finish my bias tape as well. I am making this towel because I want somebody to use it, which means they're going to wash it a lot. We don't want this part to ravel, so I'm going to trim it here, leave myself just a little bit extra. I'm just going to fold this in and then fold it back over, and now I've got folded side, folded side. It's okay if it sticks out a little bit further, and now it's not going to have a raw edge there to ravel. I'm going to back stitch at this end. Alright, so there's my bias tape. So everything's covered up here. There's not going to be any raveling inside. We still have this front edge that's ravelly, so now we're going to cover it with the bias tape as well. So again, I'm going to cut off a piece that's long enough. So that'll do it there. Get this out of my way. So same thing, I'm going to look at my bias tape again, find the side that's a little bit longer, and I want that to be on the back. So this time, I don't want a raw edge here, so I'm going to go ahead and stick it up a little bit, fold it under, and then fold it around. So I've made a little sandwich again. I'm covering up this raw edge here, I'm covering up the raw edge of my bias tape, folding it over. You can pin it all the way through. I'm just going to feel it with my fingers. We're going to cover up this last raw edge. Back stitch here. Whoops. I'm going to stitch in a little bit, make sure I'm catching it on the back side. In the center, we just want to lay that flat to one side. As I get to this end, I want to fold it under again, so I'm going to trim some of that off. I'm going to fold this so I don't have a raw edge of my bias tape. Too much. There we go. Back stitch here. Okay, so now this raw edge is also covered with that bias tape. I've got it captured on the back as well. Doesn't have to look pretty, but we want to make sure there's no holes in there. So I've got this adorable hood put together with no raw edges. So now it's time to do the fun part. We're going to add the teeth and the eyes. Teeth first. So we have our strip of teeth. I want mine to be centered. So I'm going to pin it. I'm going to find the center. I'm going to pin it here. But what we're actually going to do is line up those edges. So get it where you want it. Line up those flat edges and let's pin it in place. Alright, we're going to stitch our teeth right about the same line. Doesn't have to be exact, but right about the same line we did for stitching our bias tape. We're going to back stitch at the end. Back stitch at this end. Let's trim the threads. So cute! Alright, now we want our teeth to lay down, so we're going to take this and we're going to turn it under to make a hem, and that'll make our teeth stick down. So, oops, I'm out of bobbin thread. Alright, so we're going to take this, we're on the inside, we're going to take this and just turn it just about how far that bias tape is, and we're going to hem all the way along. I'm still sewing in white thread. It's not showing up too much on my gray. If you want to switch, if you have a dark towel, of course you can rethread here to match your towel. We're going to back stitch. Let's trim that thread. Take a look. Making a nice finished edge. Now, as you get to this center seam, this is very thick. There's a lot of layers. You may want to hand walk your needle using the hand wheel. So let's do that over this very thick part. We're going to back stitch at this end, trim those threads. And take a look. So cute! Alright, now get your eye pieces. So you have a choice here of machine stitching or hand stitching. To be honest, I'm not that great at hand stitching. I'm much better at the machine. So I'm going to machine stitch mine. Now you can put the white parts on first and then attach the black parts. That gives you a chance to see if you want the eyes, you know, kind of looking in, or if you want them the same on both sides. You get to choose at this point how exactly looks best for you. I'm going to sew the black and white part together first and then attach the whole thing onto my towel. So you kind of work out what works best here for you. I'm going to switch to black thread to do this eye, and then I'm going to pin both of them onto my towel and stitch them in white thread onto my towel. So I've got my hood all finished. Now we just have to attach it to the body. So grab your body towel. Alright, I've got my big towel now. I'm going to fold it and find the center. And I'm just going to hold my fingers right here. I'm going to take my hood, same thing, fold it, and find that center. Now, if I pinch these two together, I'm going to line the centers up. So we see this? And then open them, pinch them inside before you let go of the outside. And now you have them perfectly lined up. So that's an easy way to find the center and make sure that your hood is centered on your body towel. So let's pin this together. We're going to back stitch really good. This edge right here is going to take some stress, so we're going to back stitch maybe even twice here. Same thing on this end. We want to back stitch really well. I'm going to do it an extra time. Trim those threads. And we have used the pre-finished edge of the towel, so we don't have to do anything else. It is finished and ready for you to enjoy. I hope you love your shark towel. I have had so much fun sewing my shark hooded towel. I hope you enjoyed it as well. Please come back and visit for more tips, ideas, how-tos, and visit my shop for ready-to-make gifts for those times when you're a little bit too busy to do it yourself.